Hello and welcome back to the Real Music Talks. Today's guest is Laura, a singer-songwriter from London. How you doing, Laura?
I'm okay, thanks. Sweltering. It's hot. It's really, really hot, but it's lovely.
It is. It's really warm. We're going to get some hot weather coming up, but I love the heat and I'm going on holiday, so I'm looking forward to it. So Laura, for people that don't know you and haven't heard of you before, how would you describe yourself and your involvement in music?
Um, I would describe myself as really down to earth, and friendly, and I loved connecting with all kinds of people from all walks of life, because I just feel that everybody has something for you to learn. So I'm interested in everything, basically nothing. I don't have a kind of person or a kind of place or a kind of music or a kind of thing that I will always follow. I'm always up for experimenting with all kinds of things. I think life is a great palette of color that we can draw creativity and experience from, to keep molding you the direction that you need to go. So yeah, I think I'm a person of the world. Musically, I definitely draw from my experiences and I channel that into my music, because I also know that there's someone out there who obviously could draw the same lines and feel I'm going through that, or I'm feeling that, or so kind of like try to make it as universal as possible. And that's probably my musical direction at the moment. I want somebody to listen to the stuff and feel they're not alone, or they can relate and feel that, someone else has felt this, someone else has thought this. And that's nice in this world, because it's lonely. This world can be very lonely. So if you know that there's somebody, or through music or whatever medium, whatever thing you're doing in your life, if you can use that to reach and connect more with the people around you, then I think that's what life and living is all about.
Yeah, so it's almost like your mission statement is bigger than the music itself. Like your purpose is like a bigger part of it. So how did you sort of get to that point? Like, talk to me about like when you first got into music, and then maybe talk about your journey from there until now.
Um, I first got into music when I was a very tiny tot, very little, because there we had a massive old grand stereo, with all of the Elvis records piled on top of one another. And I thought it was an interesting thing to go and play with. And then I realized it made sounds. And so I just liked that this box could make me feel all kinds of things. And it was inanimate, it wasn't a human, it was a box, it was an old stereo. So I'd always, like, as a little child, I could coil myself down next to it and have the music as loud as possible in my ears, and it would be so exciting. So I think that was my earliest memories of music. And then singing at the top of my head, screaming all kinds of things. And that turned into actually music that I enjoyed doing as I got older, 8, 9, 10, joined choirs. And I was always kind of involved in music some way or the other. I was in the orchestra, I played the flute, which was good fun. And then I think the journey has just enriched itself. And then I just decided to start writing. I know I used to have a journal from really young, a diary that I wrote in. So I think that would probably be the earliest times of writing for me. Songwriting really is writing out your thoughts and feelings into a diary, and then turning that into songs.
It's interesting. So like you've always kind of taken the approach of like me expressing my emotions through my music, and not necessarily like learning the technicalities about music and learning it in like a classically trained way. Does that make sense? Would you sort of agree?
Yeah.
So now kind of that's drawn into your mission of like, this is what I do music for, to connect people, like talk to me about some of your experiences in doing that. Like, what have you kind of seen at concerts? What have you observed and experienced over time?
I think all the time there's going to be a certain artist that will pluck at your heartstrings or make you feel things. I know for longest time that would have been listening to Anita Baker. I loved the 80s music and that 80s period. I was so small and still feel so wholesomely connected to quite elderly or adult music at the age of 3 or 4. I thought that was like beautiful to connect to Anita Baker's music. So she was very inspiring, and soulful artists as well, like Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, and we'll go further back to blues soul like Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix. I like the music that they created because again, it was about life and feelings, and life is full of a palette of emotions and feelings that we have to work our way through and around. And if you have music that just puts it all in some kind of order so that you can relate to life once that record is off again, then that can be quite that's quite helpful as you navigate through life, having a set of songs that can chime to your heart and decode it all, because it can be very baffling. Life's roads can take you all kinds of places. So I think music is a great way of unraveling that for you, making it make sense.
Would you say that's kind of like your own therapy almost then, like using music and your expression of music is kind of like your own therapy to help you get through life?
It's very it's cathartic. It's particularly performance, because whatever I will do at home with a notepad or in a studio is nothing compared to when you actually perform it, because something changes when it's time to perform. You're not thinking about if you're on time, if you're singing the right thing, if you're plucking the right, you're just there to speak to the audience who are in front of you and tell them the story. So it changes. And yeah, you feel good afterwards. You almost feel like you're walking on a cloud. You almost feel like, because everybody, I think, in this world wants to be understood. Everyone has breakdown in understanding, whether it's between parents and children, whether it's between lovers, whether it's been the government and the people. Understanding is a great obstacle or catalyst to joy or obstacle. So music makes you understand, helps you understand things, because people are rushing through life and there's fear and there's tears, and no one stops enough times to just feel they need to connect with the next person and or with what's around them or with the life that's spinning around them. And then they'll actually maybe for once, maybe even for a little bit, get off that conveyor belt of life and pause, a bit like you going on holiday. Everyone loves to go on holiday because it's a great time to calm and again be connected with the world and reassess and realign and get away from the race or whatever it is we're chasing. We're always chasing. And I think at the end of the day, I think is what we're all chasing is love. And not love between, again, how most people relate to it between two people, or I don't know, it's got so many meanings now, unfortunately. But the true love is peace. True love is contentment. Love is feeling all right with the world, whether you died that moment or whether you live till 100. Love is feeling contentment and understanding with people around you. So thank God that music can help that when people are rushing around, because no one wants to listen to anybody, unfortunately. It's really hard to get people to listen to you or to listen to one another, isn't it?
Yeah, especially in a world where there's so much noise, where there's like media channels, there's digital stuff going on, there's social media, there's the news, there's loads of people trying to get your attention to buy things. Do you know what I mean? There's so much noise around you. And then you can find like that sense of peace, I guess. And I've heard people say like music's like a universal language, because whoever you are, you can understand it and relate to it, whether you're another side of the world, different languages, different cultures, different backgrounds, and you can all have that common ground. I think when I go to a concert and I see people that are just also different coming together, I think that makes it special for me.
Yeah, that we're all just humans, bags of bones and blood and flesh, and we all kind of just enjoy good things together. We all enjoy good food, we all enjoy dancing, we all enjoy being happy, actually. And if we can just meet at that level all the time, then life would be great. Yeah.
So have you always sort of lived in London? Because I mean, I mention it because London's obviously quite an expensive place to live. It's very busy, you know. What kind of, I guess, been your experiences in that, you know, because it's quite hard even to pay your rent or pay your bills in London, right? So what do you do other things outside of music to get money, essentially?
I'm a yoga teacher, which has definitely helped my musical journey incredibly. Um, and I adore the philosophies, and I really do praise the path and stumbling across the path, because ideally I was in PT and teaching PT, but PT is a whole different world to what yoga is. PT is just, again, another pedal. Yes, it's great. It helps people keep fit. It helps people think about their welfare, and again, slows people down. I've seen people start a PT program and then just start thinking about things they never would have thought of, like taking care of themselves, self-love, slowing down, looking around, and not being so caught up in their anxiety and fear. That's why self-love is so important. Yoga's got a very softer approach where you connect to yourself on so many different levels, where you begin to give yourself the attention that perhaps you crave from outside, trying to get the attention from outside of you, and that never works. Don't ever try to fill your cup from somebody else or something else. And you can get that, but it's all usually short term. You can't always expect your light to come from elsewhere. You have to find that within you. And that's what people find the hardest, because they are expectant. They want that to come from somewhere all the time. And then they get grumbly, and that's a lot of where a lot of frustrations come in this life. So yoga basically teaches you to find your light. And when you've got your light, it shines into all of the dark areas of your own life. And then you begin to assess your creativity, what you're good at, what you want to do. I suppose why lockdown was a terrible time, and God bless those people who suffered, but it was also a time where people had this chance to meditate, to stop, to get off, and then reassess. And everyone's come out of that feeling a little bit more connected with what their real life purpose is. So yoga is a great big pause all the time. And yes, you get fit from it, but you also nurture your mind, your spirit, and your body. So I'm really happy that I get to do that as a job, because it's rewarding, and I tend to take care of myself a lot more than I ever used to. And it helps with creativity, and it helps with opening your mind to see so much further than you otherwise would. So that's how I make a living. I'm not raking it in, but I make a living. It's given me time as well to chase my dreams, which I'm grateful for, because that's something I couldn't have done back in those years when I was just going from pillar to post and doing any odd job just to cover the rent, so yeah.
How do you think your experience in yoga feeds into creating music? Because obviously I feel like to be able to write good songs, you have to get to a certain like mental place. So like maybe talk about like how those two things feed into each other.
Say that again.
So how does like what you do in yoga feed into you creating music?
Oh, golly. It's basically, they work so well together. It's just like a well-oiled machine, the two of them. Because yeah, you have to relax, and you have to be so much in your own self to be able to spill out whatever's inside. Because a lot of people are afraid to talk about or really be sincere with their music, or they'll be like, I'm just going to write a hit record, and I'm just going to listen to what the hit record is right now and copy that, or I don't know, sound like that, and no one's kind of connecting from a deeper level. But I'm saying everyone, comes to music differently, and everyone has their own method of delivering their creativity out there. But if you wanted to actually be a songwriter that actually dug deeper inside and found or created music that was sincere and relative to their own journeys, as opposed to just creating stuff or making stuff that they feel will appeal to people. I'm not writing stuff that's going to particularly make any appeal to a certain mass or a certain type or genre, which is why whenever anybody asks me what genre of music, I never really know what to say. I'm just writing stories that actually make me feel scared or make me feel exposed, and all of those things is what yoga does. It for the first time you put yourself in a position where you're exposed, and no one wants to be exposed. They want to be hidden behind various layers of colors and shades, and No one really wants to see the gritty or be super, super sincere. And that's why beautiful songs come from sincerity. So yoga is a place of sincerity. And that's pretty much why I enjoy the practice. And I do feel it's definitely enlivened my creative approach, or put a lot of purity into it. Definitely.
And obviously, you know, you are a solo act, but maybe have you ever collaborated with other musicians? Like, you know, what has been your experience working with maybe other musicians, producers, and other people in the industry?
That was exactly what I mean. I was in a metal rock band once, and I did great in that. It was lots of fun, and I was jumping up and down on stage, and that was great. And I think some of those songs were true, but a lot of those songs were just rocking songs and fun songs. I've been in a duo with a mate of mine, and they were all, when you collaborate, you're sharing, so it can't completely be your story. So more recently, and my more recent musical path has been one that has cut out all kinds of collaborations or anything, and has literally just been me sitting with the guitar and coming up with stuff all on my own, something I've never, ever, ever done, which is probably why I feel I'm teetering at the edge of I don't know what I'm doing. But again, it's really exciting. I'm enjoying that. So my more recent music, which I'm yet to go into the studio and record, is probably my most authentic self from all the other stuff I've ever created.
Yeah, I think like musicians that have the same mindset as you, they're always chasing that kind of like, how can I be more authentic and like find an authentic version of my music? But obviously that changes over time. So that's why your story develops and like who you are as a person changes. And so does your music as a result. But yeah, maybe talk about like your experience in the studio. Like, how do you approach recording?
How do I approach recording? I mean, obviously the product must be perfect and finished. I don't really like taking 1,000 takes. I really don't like to go and kind of create some kind of manicured version of the original sound. I like mistakes, I like errors, which is probably why I really enjoy that raw, empty sound of the 60s, where, you know, they could have been, I don't know, outside or in some kind of little corner room. Like, there was no polished sounding recordings like what you hear now, which is great, and you can bop along to it and it's on the radio. But I do like just pure instrumentals and the sound of the real sound of the music. I want it to come through. Errors, mistakes, and all, echoes, everything. I like that. So that's my approach. I'd like it to be raw and without a massive amount of production.
I'm also a fan of that approach, but I think in today's age, it's quite hard with that. Like, you sit with bands all the time, they do their own recording or something, and it's really raw. Then it gets signed by a label, and before you know it, it's polished and sounds like everything else that goes out. So I guess, like, what would you say to like bands in that situation? You know, like, it is quite challenging because you feel like you have to conform to that level of sound. Do you think you can have success as a musician without conforming to what other people want in some way?
Yeah, these days more than ever before, because the record label or the big guys are slowly being pushed. I mean, they're there, but they're not as prominent as they once were. And it's such a liberating and such a free time for musicians and artists alike, because you've got social media and you can cut out so many middlemen or that hierarchy that you thought you had to tirelessly climb to get any kind of recognition. Right now, you can actually just propel yourself there and just be your own style, be your own sound, and find and get that following and that audience, which is great.
How do you go about like getting that following though? I suppose, like, do you think because social media can be a thing in itself, right? You can try and be your authentic self on there, or you can portray a certain story. Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess you would fall into like, you'd want to be your authentic self, but what is your approach to social media and how do you find your experience using it?
It's great that it's there, but I also personally, because I don't want to be on it all the time, that's my own personal thing, because it's draining and it does kill your creativity, and it can pull you from left to right and right to left, and you're just like, what's you want to not let it what can I say, dull your senses too much, because it can dull your senses, and then before you know it, you've become another lemming, feeding into what people want. So I think knowing that it's there, but not letting, again, back to yoga, self-mastery is key. Not letting anything outside of yourself be your master, but being your own master. So yeah, it's a tool. I see social media as a tool, but I don't see it as something to worship and something to praise and something to constantly use. I think more live stuff, be out more, make more music outside of yourself. And that's it, because you can't really believe everything that's on there as well. That's the thing. And it's not really good for the children. It's not really good for adults alike, because we need to still remain outside and in the real world. We need to stay there more than ever before. We should be more like how it was back then. It's just that it's great there to release the record and be heard, but not live on it and be on it and create your identity through that place, because it's not true. None of it is true. How many followers you have, I don't particularly think that's even important. It's really not.
Potentially, until you play a gig and they say you need to have X amount of followers, which is crazy and sad, but that's how the world works now. It's like, how many streams have you got on Spotify? How many followers have you got on Facebook and Instagram? Oh, we'll give you the gig then. Or, oh no, we won't. And I've seen that happen a lot. And I think it's a bit sad, because then you're just missing out on a lot of great music that's out there, because you're just picking the people that have a bigger following, which could be totally crap anyway, and not like actual real genuine people with genuine connections. So, but I'm on the same side of the fence as yourself, in that it's just another tool that you can use, and you can use it as another creative outlet. And I think this sort of social media accounts that I see I like are when people are using it as just another creative tool to show who they could be as an artist, and not in a like over the top way, but just them doing their own thing with it and having fun.
Yeah, it's never be defeated by it. It's just, it's you are the person. You don't, can I say, take away your power. I think it's quite disempowering, social media, if you are going to praise it and live and give yourself merit through it. You can't give yourself merit through that. You are, I mean, how often have you seen a social media act and say, okay, they've got that odd many followers, go and watch them, and like thought, really? How did that happen? How did that come about? Then when you know there's still those money makers, those people out there, those pirates out there who are still controlling the web and controlling things, and that's not true, that's not real. Like, let the real music play, let the real artists be heard, and that, I think, can be redeemed by live performance and making live music still, and that will always rule.
Absolutely. Do you think that's the way the music industry will get better, through like more of a focus on live performances in many different forms?
Yes, I'm so glad that that's a thing happening now, whether it's open mics or gigs, they're flourishing. And I want people to be able to not go onto somebody's handle, but actually go to their gig, because that's how you learned about that gig, and that's how you found them, and you went, got interested in their music that way, bought their record even. It's great. I believe records are coming back.
It's hard though still, isn't it? Because you can get everything on Spotify for free. So
yeah, you can get everything on the web. But yeah, I know. But I've seen people getting these. It's so nice to see vinyl, isn't it? It's so nice to see vinyl. Imagine if it makes a turnaround. You know what humans are like. We just go around in circles. It's like VHS is coming back again. That's the thing. People are going to get tired. I mean, I think a lot of people are more interested in drawing more experiences from the 60s and the 70s more than ever before. I mean, I've always been there. I've always been invested in that time. I don't really know half of the main acts or the people selling the most records now. I really don't, if you'd have to ask me. I don't listen to them. I have no particular idea. I probably know the song, but I'll still listen to the classics. Always.
Where do you see innovation in music going then? So obviously you said you don't listen to the new music, and you'd love to get back to the music of the 60s, 70s. Do you think it's possible to create music like that still and it be popular?
Indeed, there is a huge, and I've always said it, there's a huge calling for it. I went out the other day to a jam session, and I met some really cool cats, and they were playing Jimi Hendrix's all along the Watchtower, and there was a flutist doing the whole fluty vibe, and there was this lovely rocker, and they had like bands tied around their head, just like how they used to do it. And I'm like, this is so cool. And it was drummers, and they were making real authentic. We were all having a bash. It was the best night this week that I've had in the longest time. It was nice. So yeah, a lot of people know that. Why does this record sound so genuine? Why does it sound so amazing? To perhaps what's on the radio now, which is so polished, so fixed, so like push button, like a room. You know, we're humans, and we're not going to dull all our senses of taste, touch, feel, sight, sound, because we've just become so inanimate ourselves, and we're just slowly turning into metal and machine. We need to go back to being more human.
So we talked quite a lot about like the music industry in terms of how it's changed and all that kind of thing. So what advice would you give to a musician that's starting out today? Maybe they just bought an acoustic guitar. Like, where should they start? Like, what should inspire them?
They should be inspired by how they feel. They should be inspired about how they feel at that moment in time. They should treat themselves with great importance, and they should not think that everything outside of themselves is better, and that they should be inspired. Listen, be inspired by people around you, but know that you have got a wealth and a reservoir of awesomeness within you. So sitting and making whatever sound comes out, keep doing that. And it leads to something brand new. And you become like, that's how you find yourself, believing in yourself. I know it's cliche, but it's true. You have to believe in yourself.
I think that's what I love the most about music, especially when you have someone playing an instrument. Like, I mean, I play the drums. Loads of drummers can play the same drum beat, and it's never exactly the same. There's like subtle differences in how they hold the sticks, like what part of the drum they hit, like how loud they hit certain notes within the beat and stuff like that. So it's kind of like unlimited in terms of like the amount of expression that you can have. And I think that's the beauty of it. There's like no kind of, you know, if you hit a drum machine, it's like that's the sound. But if you play a drum, you can play it all these different velocities, different points, different parts of the stick. It's just kind of like, it's never the same.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's similar to a handprint. No one has the same one. So that's the drum kit all explained, isn't it? Exactly. Just be your authentic self and stop trying to be somebody else, because that's just too much. And that's what social media says. That's why there's those filters. I never use filters. Like, but why is there a filter? Like, is there a certain look that everyone should be? I don't know. I don't think so. Life's too beautiful. Back to that lovely palette. Just keep on enjoying all the different things around you, and let that influence who you are. But don't ever try to split yourself into 1,000 pieces, because there'll be nothing left of you trying to be everything else around you. And that's like just chasing your own tail, wasting a lot of time.
Easier said than done, but definitely something that we should all aspire to. So what are your goals in music? You know, what's your plan for the future? You know, like, where do you think you're going to go over the next few years?
Right now it's just to create. I've collaborated with many people. I've had lots of fun. I've got quite a lot of musical experience that way, but because I've never really sat with myself, which is why I'm so strong about discovering what's inside, and because I did actually sit quietly on my own, the scariness and the fear, I want to create this a good few songs, and release them, and let that be something that came truly from me. Something, my best self. I want to put my face out and my feelings out and my energies out, and that's going to be a great achievement for me. That's what I want to do, create some beautiful music that started with just myself and a guitar, and yeah, see what happens. So far so good. I want to record something.
Sounds good. No, it sounds great. Really looking forward to that. So we're nearly out of time today, Laura. It's been really great chatting. But is there anything else you'd like to leave the audience with as we close out?
Keep being awesome. Be awesome. That's what you are. Yeah. If you didn't hear it, I'm telling you.
Love that, short and sweet. No, that's really good. But yeah, thanks for chatting, Laura. Really appreciate the time. It's been great to meet today.
Nice to speak to you too, Daniel. Have a
Thank you
great
very much.
holiday.
Will do. I'm looking forward to it.
All
Thanks for
right
watching,
then.
everyone. See you next time. Take care.